Hello ladies and gentlemen, this video is part of the series which I have just recently started on horoscopes of countries, with emphasis on the description of the natal chart of the countries, and then looking at the future 2025 and beyond. So far I've done the horoscopes of United States of America, Europe, Western Europe, I will do Eastern Europe too. I've done Australia, Canada. Today I will do Russia. The next one I will do will be on India, and then I will do Bulgaria, Romania, so Eastern Europe. Actually, you advised me, it was more like your request to do this series, and I'm glad that I'm doing them because they're very interesting. And you will see also the horoscope of Russia is specifically interesting. Of course, if you have further suggestions on countries, please let me know in the comment section. So we will look at the horoscope of Russia. This is the horoscope when the date I used is when the Soviet Union fell. So this is the one from 1991. Then I am using it was not easy to find the horoscope of Putin. So we have to look at the horoscope of the country and the ruler, which is Putin. Now, the horoscope of Russia was not, of course, hard to find, the natal chart, but the horoscope of Putin is very controversial, and I will tell you why. One of the reasons why I have, I don't really trust even the horoscope which I have now, but I thank very much to Irina. She sent me email and she advised me which horoscope to use. I'm using, Irina, the horoscope you advised, the birth date and time of Putin which you gave me. I hope this will be reliable, but only the future will show. So thank you very much, Irina. This was really useful because I was really searching for the right one. Why we can never be sure of the horoscopes of big politicians, I will tell you, especially people with the class of Putin, because these people, it's not secret and this is very ancient, these people have doubles. They have doubles, I will tell you, since Babylonian times. They really do. And especially Putin has, most probably. So if we make, even if we have the correct, imagine we do have the correct birth time of Putin, but he has doubles, and they induce their own energy into the image of the politician Putin, then we probably we cannot be relying on the natal chart of Putin, if you understand what I mean. Because I will give you one example which I used to give when I was speaking about the Babylonian magic. I will give you this example and then you will see what I mean, that we cannot really rely so much on the horoscope of Putin, even if the birth time is correct. In Babylon, when there was the eclipses were very important, mainly for the king, and they would really observe the eclipses and they would see how the eclipses would impact the king. Maybe, sorry if this is repetition for some of you who knows this, but it's relevant for the current conversation. So they would analyze the eclipses. There were these teams of astrologers really who would serve the king, the palace, and I told you previously, they would climb on the ziggurats and they would really observe the eclipses. So if they see that the eclipse is endangering the life and the rulership of the king, then they would do one magic, which is the substitute. It's the substitute magic. They would know that, for example, for 3 months after the eclipse, there is danger for the life of the king. So for these 3 months, they would take somebody who resembles the king, and they would put this person in charge of the country. So he's replacing the king. They treat him as the ruler. They would really and they do this on purpose, so that he absorbs the negative energy of the eclipse sun and or moon, but most probably sun. When this time was over, they would kill the person, because he's absorbing the negative energy and the real king remains safe. So you see how this is like a double. So this person is like a double, so he absorbs the energy. So you can see how tricky is the situation, especially when you when we sorry about this. So you see how the energies are mixed, and you cannot really rely 100% on the this is my point of view. So we will see the horoscope of Putin, of course, which Irina advised me to use based on a book of investigative journalist. The book was, from what I understood, a thick book, which is called Vova, Volodya, Vovochka, something like that, which are the pet names of Putin. So I haven't read the book, so I used the data, the data which was recommended to use. So we will start with the horoscope of Russia, very very interesting horoscope, and then we will see the horoscope of Putin, and only the future will tell us whether the horoscope of Putin is correct. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the horoscope of Russia. I believe this timing is reliable. I said 1991, my mistake, it is 12th June 1990, 12:45 Moscow. This is the time when the Soviet Union was destroyed. There are other two charts, but this seems to be the most reliable. I consulted Russian astrologers to see which one they would choose, and I see that it's very common in Russia, the Russian astrologers, to use this chart. Of course, they use it from tropical perspective. This is the sidereal chart of the Russian Federation. So you will see this is the second degrees of Virgo. Very potent degree of Virgo, because here we have the point of the autumn equinox, very strong, very potent in terms of intellectual capabilities, in terms of open minds, sharp minds, because also the section which is ruling the axis of the ascendant is the hermetic term of Mercury. Mercury is who rules the ascendant, who describes the first house in the mundane horoscope, is the house of the nation. These are the people. This is so Mercury is in the Pleiades. The Pleiades are the seven sisters on the sky. They, by the way, are very very well, how to say, they are witches. They are women, they are witches. In my culture, we call them the seven hens, and they are also very, very esoteric, spiritual, and you will see still nowadays people in Russia. I know I graduated Russian school in Bulgaria. I feel very connected to the Russian culture, and I see how esoteric they are, how many rituals they apply. This is quite common for the Orthodox Christians. We are two Orthodox Christians, so it's very common to do rituals, to obey ancient faiths, and to do many esoteric rituals, to believe in magic, and this is very common for the Russian people. They also are very spiritual and quite, I mentioned, open-minded, and this is with you also notice that when the time of the pandemic was to 20 to 22 3, the Russians didn't, very small percentage accepted the thing. I don't want to mention it, and so was valid also for my culture on the Balkans. People are very very awake. Also, you will see a very interesting thing. Again, I will tell you something which I was thinking I will not see in this horoscope, but I saw it also in this horoscope. Remember when I discussed the Canadian and the Australian horoscope and the European and the United States horoscope, we noticed the detriment position of the moon. The moon represents the people, the common citizen, the people, the nation. How come? How come? Do you believe in coincidences? I do not. I do not believe in coincidences. Tell me, how come the moon in these horoscopes, each one of them is always detriment or fallen? Classically, moon in Capricorn is considered detriment, fallen. Tell me now if these horoscopes, if these birth dates of nations and countries are not made by astrologers in the ancient tradition, not modern astrology. The elites are not using modern astrology. I tell you this for certain because I checked this. I mean, using examples of horoscopes. I have no real source of information. This is just based on what I see in the horoscopes. They are using ancient astrology. So you see, also in this horoscope, the moon is detriment, which basically aims to make people very weak, to weaken their abilities of self-defense, if you want. They are detriment. This is very, very, like you can see, then you cannot unsee anymore, like that, you know. So this is very, very interesting. Then what also they made, I found this also quite interesting, impressive. Invisible Mars in the 7th house in Pisces. This Mars, ladies and gentlemen, is weak. Mars, who became visible 2 days after the nation was born. At the moment of the birth of the Russian Federation, Mars was invisible. He got visible 2 days after the official, I don't know whether this was ceremony, I don't remember. So, what is this meaning? On one hand, when you have invisible Mars, always the police forces are hidden. They really do very tricky job of manipulation and intelligence, if you want, and surveillance, if you want. But more interesting, this Mars is in the 7th house of the visible enemies. It means Russia, with this horoscope, will always have neighboring problems with the neighbors, with neighboring countries. Always will be. This is challenging Mars, especially for negotiations, agreements with neighboring countries. Also, Mars in a heliacal phase of appearance, because he is invisible in the horoscope, is very, very, it is negative. So this situation, there would always be some situations with Azerbaijan, with Armenia, like now, and this might go worse, and I will tell you why I think so. In addition, the dispositor of this Mars is Jupiter, who is also fallen. You see, this is why Jupiter in the 10th house is fine, but he on the other hand is in the phase of disappearance, and he's in the house of the rulers. This is general. This here I don't really specify that this is Putin. This would say low morals. When Jupiter, the main ruler of morals, is invisible, low morals in general of the nation, and some challenges with finances. Also, however, the Sun is in the vicinity of Capella, the Capella, which is the house, which is star of money. Again, from international sources as well. Why Russia has petrol and gas? This is because of the placement of Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn in the fourth house. This is the motherland. This is the these are the own resources, and these three planets retrograde will always be source of own resources. The country will never have endless, it will always have endless supply of resources. And you see these three planets in the fourth house are conflicting Mars, so there will be fight. And around these resources, it is like, even if they would voice other reasons, make sure that in the bottom of conflicts would be these resources. So this is important point, I believe. Also, you see the moon is detriment, but is still in the house of the good fortune, which is the fifth house, which makes people very creative and somehow lucky. So this is very important. The applying aspect of the moon is towards Mars. Like, people are real, ready always to fight, ready to be warriors, ready to go on war. The moon applies to Mars. This is very important. When we look at Rahu and Ketu, this we see that people would not, 11th house is also the image. Of course, these are the connections, the contacts, but this also finances and banking. But 11th house are also the contacts. This is the image of the country as well, and they wouldn't care so much about that. They would care about their own motherland, resources. And Rahu in Capricorn with the moon, people are very driven to creativity, creative knowledge, and also this indeed can be, in this case, this can be quite lucky for the nation, for the common people. Venus is also fallen in Aries in the 9th house, and this financially doesn't really support the country so much. You have two planets which are so important for the finances, both of them are fallen, and this is Jupiter and Venus. Of course, resources this land will have forever. Saying this, what is happening right now? First of all, briefly to look at the main transits of the coming 2025, and then we'll look at the cycle which the country is entering. Now, the cycle, the Time Lords of today and of the future. What is very important, I will tell you, as we speak, Saturn is still in the 6th house. He played his very important role for 2.5, 3 years in the 6th house, which is police, which are conflicts. And because of his not very powerful role being peregrine in the 4th house, of course he created conflicts. But now things are changing, and on 6th of April, Saturn is entering sidereal Pisces. Saturn in Pisces is not as powerful as Saturn in Capricorn and in Aquarius, and I'll explain to you why. This is again, our experience is telling us, look historically, every time Saturn is very powerful on a throne in Capricorn, in Aquarius, he is making major changes for the world. Berlin fall, also wars, changes of regimes. You see the fall of Soviet Union happened when Saturn was just about to enter Capricorn. So you see, Saturn in Capricorn or in Aquarius always brings major changes in the social system, in the regulations, in the rulerships, in the governmental structures in the world. Always, because Saturn himself is ruling the throne, the rulership powers. So Saturn is changing his placement and is entering Pisces, which makes him weaker. And now this is not this Saturn who we are used to see for the last 5.5, 6 years to be modifying the world, the social system, and the rulership powers and the governments in the world, because we see this. We don't need even to go into that. We are all witnessing. Now Saturn will be weaker, but still transformative, but in a different way. Saturn in Pisces is peregrine. He's not fallen. He's not exalted. He's just not in his place. And actually, he will make conjunction with Mars. This is because Mars is also in Pisces. But more interesting, in the very beginning of the Saturn entrance into Pisces, Saturn will make conjunction with Rahu. And I checked, and historically, always for Russia, when Saturn and Rahu will meet, always what happened? Russia sent forces to Afghanistan. Russia stopped the war in the Second World War. So, look how we look at this. If there is a war, Rahu Saturn stop it. If there is no war, Rahu Saturn start it. Historically, this is how things look more or less. So could be that Rahu Saturn even frees the war. This is, I mean, not the war in Palestine. No. There things are very different, and I have to do video on this too. I mean, the war in Russia and Ukraine. So this is very, very possible situation. This is mighty, which doesn't mean that Russia will not have conflicts with neighboring countries. Saturn is ruling the 6th house of conflicts. Saturn is ruling the 5th house of the moon sign of people, and 11th house, which is the image of the countries, also finances. And Saturn in conjoining Mars, especially when this conjunction in 1.5 years will be exact, this will be 2026 to 2027, we will easily see other conflicts which will have very mean ground. Like there will be again somebody will try to fire a war or conflict, which will be happening not anymore with Ukraine, but there will be something with the neighboring countries. I say this because 12th, 13th of July, also Saturn and Neptune are meeting in Pisces in the 7th degrees of Pisces. So they're meeting here, and this is important. This can be like sharp shift of the agenda, and in the horoscope of Russia, Saturn is always related to disagreements and conflicts, health crisis too, but I don't see major health crisis in this. In addition, when it comes to international relationships, also on 7th of April, Uranus, who is now retrograde and is now in Aries, will go back into Taurus to stay here for almost 7 years, which is the 9th house. This is also about the international relationships. This could be when Uranus will enter here. Let's not forget he's coming from the 4th house. 4th house is the motherland. These are the resources. And Uranus in Taurus can bring great changes in the education. Very important and most probably positive changes in the education system, because this will make very good trine to the moon, conjunction with Mercury, conjunction with the sun, and this will be something very positive. Could be that this Uranus will bring on surface spiritual teachers, advisors, counselors, astrologers, people which will have important influence on the nation, on the society. This is 7-year cycle of Uranus in Taurus, and this is very, very important. Now you see Russia was received all these sanctions, but the economy of Russia was not destroyed, but is even in a good shape. This you can see when you don't look at the mainstream media, but you'll see real alternative media. So Saturn, while in the 6th house of the horoscope of Russia, was even creating trine to Jupiter. So the economy was absolutely not in a devastating state, just the other way around. And could be that all these sanctions which are introduced will also fall. But this will be, we will see more after the spring, more after April. In addition, when we look at the eclipses, we see that this year we have 4 eclipses, 2 fall on the axis of Virgo Pisces, which has to do again with the visible enemies, with the neighboring countries. So the first, let me see the degrees. So the first eclipse is happening 14th 15th March, is taking place on the 29th degree of Aquarius and Leo, where Rahu will be in Aquarius. This is, people will be very driven to the medical health system, changes will be introduced there too. The second eclipse is 29th of March, 14 degree Pisces. This is the solar eclipse, and this is exactly conjoining Mars. So this is interesting. We will see. I'm also wondering what this will bring. This is end of March. This is like a point of, this can trigger Mars actually to do mean things. But on the other hand, so 14 degree Pisces is happening the solar eclipse. This may also, because this is solar eclipse and has to do with the ruler of the country, with the king. This could be endangering the rulership of the king, Putin. And secondly, this could bring other conflicts with the neighbors. The second 2 eclipses in September, 7th September, 21st September, you've got solar and then, you have lunar and then solar eclipse, which are again 21st degree Leo Aquarius and 4th degree Virgo, very near the axis of the ascendant. So, yes, I don't exclude absolutely that especially the second eclipse on the 29th of March, eclipsing Mars. Mars is ruling what? 3rd house. This is about negotiations, communication. 8th house, which is the 8th house is the money from partnerships. So this all somehow emphasizes on partnerships, but the solar eclipses always have to do with the king, with the ruler. The lunar eclipses have more influence on the common people. So we will see, but this is not very good situation indeed. Then there was also one interesting thing, which was there will be this moment when Saturn and Jupiter will form a square. Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Gemini, because on 19th of May Jupiter is leaving the 9th house of the country and is entering Gemini, and they will have Jupiter return. Not bad for the economy. I don't see them really struggling in poverty. I will tell you this. Of course, from 6th June to 14th of July, Jupiter will not be visible. He's appearing for the first time in the 13 degree Gemini, aspecting Mars. Hopefully this is positive, helpful I mean. But this eclipse on Mars, this is not very good. Let's see what this will bring. It cannot be positive. Then you have the Mars becomes direct on the 21st degree of Gemini, and on the 24th of February in the vicinity of Sirius, aspecting Venus. Maybe we will start hearing a little bit of peaceful attempts to discuss some peace between Russia and Ukraine around that time. So this is very important. Now we'll continue with the cycle of Russia. So they entered cycle of Jupiter. Jupiter is in the 11th house, even though he is fallen. He receives sextile from Venus, so this is fine. They are in a Jupiter cycle. Since January of 2024, and since December of 2024, the second ruler is Jupiter, the third ruler is Ketu, and this cycle continues until November, even March of 2026, and then they continue with cycle second ruler to be Saturn. They are in a Jupiter cycle, and this is benevolent. This is you see, even though Jupiter is not very powerful because he is in Gemini, in a daily horoscope he can be very helpful. He rules Mars, so this could be a sign of eventual better developments, better peace, better developments in the war. But we will see. This peace, I don't think, will be valid for the situation of Israel Palestine, because if you remember, just a day before the wars there started, Israel entered time cycle of Rahu, which is valid 20 years. I don't like that this is valid for 20 years. But here they are in a cycle of Jupiter, and they just finished cycle of Rahu. You see? Cycle of Rahu, which is the cycle of this war situation. So this could be actually a good sign. Whether this will bring immense wealth to the country, yes, better finances maybe, but immense wealth for the people maybe, probably not, because Jupiter is in a phase which is not promising great wealth. So now let's see briefly the horoscope of Putin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the horoscope of Putin, maybe the real one. This is, let me tell you if you want to check it yourself, Siberia, Russia, city of Ocher or Ocher, 7th October 1950. So this is what we're using now. We've got 9th degree of Libra ascendant. So these degrees are how they are described by the ancients, let me tell you. And this is why I'm questioning a little bit this horoscope, because the degrees of the ascendant are very important, and they should be already describing somebody with royal power. So they say these people will be wealthy, they will grow in life, career, but they will be very unhappy with children and marriage. They will be great artistic personalities, very, very, very successful. Yes, we know he's divorced, so we cannot, yeah, partially, it could be correct. This is also, these degrees are very near. There is a constellation of Chiron, which is not Chiron, the one which the modern astrologers use for everything. This is Chiron, a constellation which is also projected in these degrees. And people are amazing philosophers and healers, esoterics. They always use alternative medicine. Maybe he does. I believe he doesn't trust the allopathic medicine and big pharma. I believe he doesn't. So people will be very noble with this degree, but they will be great healers and philosophers. Could be. Now, what I found extremely powerful is the first appearance of Saturn, who became visible one day after he was born in own triplicity, super powerful with Mercury. Such people are great mathematicians for lifetimes, because Ketu is also there. Venus is also there. The Sun, Neptune, all his planets are in the 11th and 12th houses to give secret services. We know he was working for KGB or what, some their secret services, and he officially is saying this is not a secret. This is part of his official biography. So and all these planets, Saturn conjoined Mercury, Ketu, Venus, Sun, this is mighty conjunction with exalted and visible Mercury. This is very, very powerful mathematical mind. Very powerful mathematical mind. Mercury visible, like I maybe told you previously, we don't see every day. For their longitudes there, for the northern hemisphere, only 7-8% of the horoscopes have visible, but they even more exalted Mercury. This makes him very, very smart. And with Venus, his mind, I'm sorry to the people who doesn't like him, his mind is beautiful. Very sorry, because when you see Venus and Mercury together, we speak about beautiful mind, beautiful creativity. And actually, I just recently watched a Russian interview with him, which he was giving to the public. I think he has these regular presentations. I think he didn't make a mistake. He was so diplomatic, high top level diplomacy. This comes from Saturn Mercury conjunction and Ketu. This is something that he didn't reach as in terms of knowledge in this lifetime. This comes from before, past lifetimes. Mars is invisible in Scorpio, in conjoining Antares, the star of the army leader. Needless to say, he's an army leader, trine by the moon. His mother had mighty influence on him, kind, loving mother, powerful influence on him. I heard somebody mention that his mother is almost 100 years old and she's alive. We don't know if this is true, but with this placement of the moon on midheaven, his mother is most probably alive. Then you have Mars, I mentioned, invisible, secret services. This is, we needless to speak about. Yes, problems with relationships and marriage, of course, with Venus in the 12th house. But with this position, I would have been surprised if he had lucky, loving marriage. The 7th ruler invisible shows that he has secret relationships too. He most probably has relationship which he's not reviewing. Jupiter in ruling in the 4th house, the 5th house, cares for his motherland, for his mother, but the mother had the most powerful influence on him in his life. Nobody had more impact on his nature than his mother. Now what is happening with him, I will not go into further details. We can speak more, of course, but this would become then too long. What is happening right now? Mars is not very positive for him, very tricky. Mars retrograding today, 17th of January, is entering Gemini. On 7th of April, he's entering Cancer again to conjoin his moon, to stay there until 17, I think it was, until 8th of June. So the period from 7th April to 8th of June will be a little bit critical for him, but not very, because his Mars is powerful enough. But he will have enemies, he will have troubles with, in the Russian Federation, you have these two main, two main powers. You have the industrial capital and you have the financial capital. It is believed that Putin belongs to the industrial capital, and these groups basically always have their conflict, especially when the pandemic was. There was a conflict, even the conflict between the industrial and the financial capital, which is which are the oligarchs. Basically, they were in favor of the needles, not the ones who belong to the industrial capital. But anyway, this is just very, very, of course, superficial analysis, but just to give you slightest idea of the eventual internal conflicts that he is probably facing, and he will be facing them very strongly, especially until June. He will have also quite maybe difficult times, I would say, because on the 25th of August, Mars becomes invisible in the 20th degree Virgo, conjoining his Sun. Could be that here he will have problem with his rulership. I am not sure, but this can endanger his future as president. Mars becomes invisible, conjoining his Sun. And remember about the eclipse, what I told you. In the Russian Federation, the eclipse will be in exactly in the degree of Mars. So the eclipse is eclipsing Mars, and this is his 6th house. So this could be a little bit, 14 degree in the vicinity also of his Rahu. He has Rahu return, so this could endanger his next term as president, very possibly. Or if he would continue, this would be almost impossible, very difficult. I think he might not be able to continue. If this time of birth is correct, he is now in his astrological cycle of, astrological cycle of Jupiter, and this cycle started for him. Actually, no, excuse me, I am wrong. He's in his astrological cycle still of Rahu. Rahu and Moon, and this doesn't speak a lot with the. That's why the time may not be exactly very correct. Rahu Moon cycle. Rahu is in the 5th house of his horoscope, and the Moon is very powerful. And this is valid until, if this is correct, we will see, the time will show, and we will be able to rectify even his horoscope. So this cycle will be valid until, I will tell you when, February of 2027, and then Jupiter comes into power. So could be that after that he will not maintain his presidency, but we will see. I have small doubts on his time of birth, but the mighty aspects are there, and most probably this is his horoscope with some need of rectification. And imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if there is indeed a double, and all of them have doubles, be sure, if there is a double, then also the energy of this horoscope is diluted. This is the aim of using doubles sometimes. So I don't know why, we will see, but the Time Lords make not perfect sense with the current events, but the omens, the omen of the Mars becoming invisible, conjoining the Sun of his horoscope. And Mars is becoming invisible in the summer, 25th of August. Eclipse on Mars, solar eclipse. Could be that he might not be able to continue. But I cannot say for certain, because I have small doubts which worry me a little bit with the time of birth, because the Time Lords do not make perfect match with the current events. And one way to rectify horoscope, rectification means to find the exact time of birth, is to use also the Time Lord technique. I use two techniques when I rectify horoscopes. I use primary directions and then I double check with the Time Lords. This is why a very strong sign of eventual mistake is when you see that the Time Lords do not really cover the events which you see. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this was interesting for you. The next one I will do will be for India. Then hopefully when I when I finish with them, I'll continue with the phrenology, my favorite subject. But since it's the beginning of the year, I want to give a little bit of predictions on how 2025 will influence the people and the nations. So when I finish those, I will go back to my phrenology because it's very well. It's really very interesting also for me. So always, if you would give me ideas on interesting topics, thank you. This I am looking at the horoscopes of countries because you gave me these ideas. So all the best. See you very soon.